Welcome back to the Bookhaven with Rachel and Raven. We're so glad you're here. I'm Raven. This is Rachel. And today we got a fun episode where we are going to kind of, I don't know, what would we call it? Go through reviews and
Yeah.
find some really great ones. That's
Yeah.
what we'll call it. Something shorter. Although on that note, I have a really funny review of this book. And when I was like looking it up, I thought, wow, that title is really, really long. And so you want to start with that one? That one could be a fun one.
Sure. I have to say though, first, like before we get started, I got this as a teacher gift for my class and it says I
Oh,
read
it's so
banned books.
cute.
I know. And I thought you would like to know that I'm doing the Yorkshire Gold today.
Yay. Okay, did you leave it in there for 3 or 4 minutes? This determines
I
if
think
you're a
I only
true
did
tea drinker.
3. You had to
Um,
back yours down. It was too strong.
yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, mainly because if I backed it down to 3, I would not forget about it. And then it would probably end up being in there for the 4 minutes. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is the life of a tea drinker, okay?
Yes, it
Like
is.
it has to be very precise. But I've already finished my cup of tea.
Oh, look at
And
your
this
teacup. That's so
isn't it
cute.
cute? I don't even know where I got it from. World Market. Somebody gave it to me.
That's cute.
Um, but yes.
Okay, let's jump
Okay.
into it.
All right, let's jump into it. Okay, this title it's like so long. It's called Redhead by the Side of the Road. And I just feel like
Oh, yeah.
that title is really, really long. Do you remember me talking about
I
this
do
book?
remember you talking about this book.
Okay, so I know that my review, I don't have it pulled up here on my phone, but my review was I literally felt like my IQ dropped a few points
What was this book
by
about?
reading this book. I honestly, I don't think anybody could tell you, but here, let me read you
Okay.
this review because it's great. This is a novel about a man with a boring life, which is, for reasons that elude me, supposed to be interesting to the reader. It's not. Problem is, his life remains boring throughout the entire book, which is, well, kind of boring. You expect his life to get less boring, but it doesn't. It just keeps on being boring. I think this review has captured the pure essence of boredom by being as boring as the book.
That is hysterical.
I literally couldn't tell you what the book is about. I just remember it was so dumb because I think I read this one in 2020 and I just, yeah, I felt dumber for
Oh
reading this
no.
book. I'm sorry to say.
Sometimes it happens.
Sometimes yeah, it happens. But I loved that review. It made me laugh. I was like, yeah, that's kind of what I remember. It was very boring.
That's so funny. I like
Okay, what do
just
you got?
how many times it was boring.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so I just kind of went through and tried to find some random ones. So I talked in the recap last week about the Patriots history book that we read.
Yeah.
And how it was biased from like a more conservative standpoint and whatever, so I knew that there was gonna be like some funny ones that go along with that book. So and if anybody cares to know, like I went, and I think you did this too, like I went to books that I had like rated high and then looked at the 1-star reviews on Goodreads. So that's where these are coming from. Okay, so this is a 1-star review about the Patriots history of the United States book that we had to read for school. And it says absolute garbage. Only useful to teach students about faulty arguments and the danger of writing with bias. There are more index entries for Ken Starr than there are for protest. Laughable. So I found it funny because like going on and on, there's another one that says this should not be called a Patriots history. A better title would be a right-wing Republicans history. If Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck were to write a history, this would be it. um and I just found it so funny that people like try to act like whatever history is being taught in public school isn't biased. um or in like these universities, like everybody has a bias. So I thought it was very comical that most of the 1-star reviews were just, and some of them were like, I didn't even read this because I know it's going to be trash. Like, um, so anyways, that was funny in my opinion. And like not to
It
go
is
off on a
funny.
tangent, but in doing this and looking for books that like looking at 1-star reviews, um, a lot of people were like, I didn't even want to read this book, or I DNF'd this book 10 pages in, or something like that. And I feel like it should be a requirement for you to leave a review that you actually read the whole book. I'm sorry. When
Yeah.
I don't finish a book, I do not leave a review because I didn't finish it. And it drives me insane. That is a pet peeve. Don't leave a review if you didn't
I'm
finish
trying
it.
to think, have I left any reviews? I think a lot of times I'll just say I DNF'd it, but I
But
don't
then
know
don't
that
leave
I've
a
actually
review. You know what I mean? Like this is leaving,
like a star.
or just saying, I hate this person. I'm not even going to read this book. It's trash. Well, you didn't
Yeah.
read the
Yeah.
book. Like you're
Yeah.
skewing
How
the
do you
numbers.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Drives me insane.
that's true.
Anyways, okay. So that's
Okay.
for all the people out there. Don't leave a review if you don't finish the book. Or if you get like, I can understand 75% and I just can't make myself do it, then that's fine. But don't say, I didn't read this book at all, or I got 10 pages in, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Okay. Go
Yeah.
on to your next
Yeah.
book.
Okay, so I figured I would go to one of my absolute favorites. And I was just gonna read a portion because some of these people, they
I
write whole
know.
books about
I know.
books they hate.
I know that was also the hard one, is trying to
I'm like,
find like a shorter. Yeah.
I don't have time for that. Um,
Is it on Jane Eyre?
yes, it's on Jane Eyre. I finished this. I won't read the whole thing because, like I said, why? I finished this one this morning and I am glad I finally read it. I can't say, however, that I enjoyed it or would recommend it or will ever read it again. Not in this lifetime, anyway. And then it kind of goes on to like all of her. Oh my goodness, there's gifs and everything on this one.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh,
People get
okay.
very
I need to
invested. Yeah.
save that one. I need to save that one and read that one later because it's quite long. But I think that's so funny. There are a lot of people, so I didn't I realize this, but it kind of makes sense. But a lot of people who don't like the Bronte sisters absolutely despise Jane Eyre. I mean,
Yeah.
Jane
Yeah.
Austen.
Oh,
And
yes.
yes, like they do. There's like a whole rivalry I've found on here of
Which
people.
which is funny because like the Brontes are like dark and goth, and then Jane Eyre or Jane Austen is like
Yeah.
more kind of bubbly and happy
Yeah.
endings and whatever. So I mean,
I
it
like
makes
to think that
sense.
I know it makes sense, but I like to think that they would probably, I don't know, have a lot to learn from each other. Okay, I can't find a nut like see, most people love this book. I'm just saying. Um, okay, what do you have next? I have another good one that I'm gonna pull up here
Okay.
while you talk about
So,
yours.
another one that had a lot of hot takes was the Skyward book, which is by Brandon Sanderson. So it is that sci-fi trilogy. It's YA. I really liked it. The other people that I have suckered into reading it, I think they've liked it. So, like most people, I feel like it. But okay, so here's the review. It's 1 star. Skyward read much like constipation. The story was overly convoluted, strenuous, and ultimately led to the weakest conclusion after a major information dump that the author clearly designed to hook readers into the series, but ultimately felt like a cheap infomercial. But wait, there's more.
Oh gosh.
I thought that was funny. Which I do not feel like that about that book. So if obviously, because I think I gave it like 5 stars. So I don't exactly know why that person felt like that. But anyways, it goes on for
Interesting.
quite a while. That was just the first blurb. So
I can imagine.
yeah, spicy.
Um, okay, so I have one, and this is one that I didn't particularly love. Actually, I really didn't like it at all, which I know is going against everything that most people, I guess, like this book, but I just didn't. And it was Maze Runner. And so I'll read my review.
Okay.
My review said,
Well, how
I
many
forced my,
stars? Okay. How many stars did you give
okay,
it?
I gave it 2.
Okay.
That was being generous. It's like more, I would probably give it like 1.5. Forced myself to finish it. It just dragged on, and that is the truth. It dragged on and on. And I'm sorry to your other child who just really she
She was
commented.
not
Did you
happy.
think she was not happy? She's like, and all I could say was, I'm sorry I disappointed you, but it
She
wasn't for
was
me.
so, it was so funny because she like let me know as soon as she saw it. Like, can you believe that she rated this?
But
She was
see, I feel like
heartbroken.
Maze Runner, I would really like to know this. Did she read Maze Runner before she read like Hunger Games
No, I
or
would think it was
no?
after.
Really?
She did read the whole series. And so maybe that, you know how when the series gets good, you end up kind of like, meh, like the books that were okay, you kind of just lump them all together as being good. So maybe that's what it is. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
But
would have
she enjoyed
I'm
those
not gonna make
books.
it, I'm not gonna make it past book 1. Not happening. I think one of my kids has read them all at this point.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay, our friend, we would love to be friends with her, Jansen. Remember Jansen?
Yes.
Okay, she left this review. 2 stars. This book nearly killed me. I can sympathize. I know tons of people loved it, but for some reason it did nothing for me. And then another guy put it was 2 stars. There are a lot of 2 stars, so I am not in the minority here.
Okay.
You know how sometimes you're running really fast from a horrible creature, and in a moment of panic, you turn around to see how close it is, only to run straight into a brick wall? No, I don't know what that's like either. Anyways, it goes on and on, but I'm like,
That's
yeah, that's
funny.
basically how I felt about the book.
Yeah. I
Okay.
read it so long ago that I can't even like really remember. I just remember it kind of being like it's definitely YA and it
Yeah.
plays into that. Like, so I think that that's who mostly likes it are like younger people because I know a lot of kids that do like it. And I thought it was okay.
Well, definitely one of mine actually has picked it up and kept going. I think he did mention, he was like, I just kind of got tired of all of the,
Yeah.
like, there's this special language that they have. And I just
Yes.
feel, and this is how I felt, but this is what he said too, they overuse it.
Yes.
It's just to where it becomes very annoying.
Yeah.
It's not, yeah, it's just
Well,
annoying.
and to me, like this the idea of the book is not bad, but you have the first book where they're trapped in the maze and trying to get out and whatever. But then when it goes on past that, it's kind of like trying to say why, how they ended up in the maze. And like, it doesn't make sense. Like, so I feel like part of that story's problem is that like the cohesiveness of the whole story just doesn't quite add up,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
but
All right. Yeah.
that's pretty funny.
Sorry.
All those that liked it. Okay, so I went on to Emma, which is still currently my favorite Jane Austen. And so the first one was 1 star. I remember why I thought I hated reading. I DNF'd this book originally 50% because my loan at the library expired and I didn't care enough to borrow it again, which again is like you didn't finish the book. But this one was my favorite. Basically just a bunch of manipulating people going to each other's houses.
She's not
Oh,
wrong.
so funny.
Or they're not wrong, whoever it
Oh,
is.
yeah, it was that one was my favorite. I think out of all of the ones I found, just a bunch of people going to each other's houses, manipulating people.
I mean, that's
Funny.
how it feels.
That's how all of her books are though. If you had to sum up,
Yeah,
like it is
exactly. Yeah.
just a bunch of people going to each other's houses, which was that time period, but and manipulating them. And
Yeah. Yeah,
Anyways,
and talking with their eyes across the room, right?
staring longingly and then thinking about that one stare for 2 weeks. Yes.
Yes, yes.
So,
Wow.
and then I have a short
Um,
one.
okay, go ahead.
So I went to the Hunger Games. I don't know if you looked at that one, but my favorite one
No,
star
I
review
didn't.
of the Hunger Games was UGG. And then it says update, just UGG. Which that one was very spicy in the sense of people thought that it was so wrong that people were reading about kids killing other people, like other kids, and the whole, like there are
You mean like
some,
in the beginning, like when they first came out?
like when, no, like just the reviews that are left
Oh,
about this book,
yeah.
especially the first one. People are like, this is, outrageous that this book is so popular when it's like discussing this and everything.
Well, if
So
you remember, we went into that one bookstore. Do you remember that one bookstore we went into and they had like the shelves of banned books? And we had read like almost all of them.
yeah,
And the Hunger Games was on there, and I was like, I was just caught off guard by that because I don't know.
yeah.
I guess I don't know. Maybe
Well, it's
I would have seen
interesting.
it that way years ago, but I would have
Yeah.
banned it. But
But yeah, it's interesting because I'm not sure who has, like there's a lot of different groups that ban books.
right.
And so it's like, well, where did they get that? So sometimes I feel like bookstores and whatever kind of play into the like, oh, it's a banned book, you should read it kind of thing,
Yeah.
down with the system kind of
Yeah.
stuff, when really it's like, who banned it? Like, you know
A
what I
little
mean?
school in the hill country or like
Yes, yeah, like
the
an
East Texas
elementary
woods.
private school or something like
Yeah, there you
that.
go.
Well, yeah, like elementary kids
Okay, that makes
shouldn't be
sense.
reading Hunger Games, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I always kind of like blow those off.
I thought it was funny. Okay. Another one that I pulled up because it was one of my favorite books was The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. But there's not a 1 star. There's like
Really?
no 1 stars for that one.
Really?
So
That's
I'm gonna,
fascinating.
yes, I'm going to go and find, oh, wait a second, but that was a lie because I just found one. It
Oh,
says, oh, this is another one of those that you were talking about. I really tried, you guys. There was even a 20% period when my standards were reduced so low from the previous 70% that I thought maybe I thought maybe 2 stars. But the last 10% was offensive. Yes, I said offensive. Review later. And by review, okay, she's gonna rant
oh,
about this book. Okay, so apparently she didn't really like it at all.
hot
Um,
take.
Hot take. Okay, this one is it was the comparisons to All the Light We Cannot See that attracted me to The Nightingale. Though both novels are set during World War II, the similarities for me stopped there. All the Light is a magical novel, electric with beautiful, resounding prose and refined artistry. The Nightingale is a novel motored essentially by cliche and exaggeration.
Hmm.
And that is Kristen Hanna. So what can we say? I
Yeah,
still liked it. I liked
yeah,
All the Light We Cannot See like a whole lot. Like
yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's like 5 stars, but um I also liked The Nightingale. And
yeah.
yes, it was not written as beautifully as All the Light We Cannot See, but what did you put for The Nightingale? I feel like it was definitely one of those stories that I felt like I was there. Um, I was very invested in that one.
I did give the Nightingale 5 stars, but I did not leave a review. So I don't know.
Well, then you're not free to speak on this subject. Just kidding.
I do remember liking it. I'm trying to, so I read that one in 2019. And I think we've talked about this before. I think that might be one of the first like historical fiction books I read.
I think it
So
was.
yeah, which you recommended. So I think that um we've talked about this before, but the more you read, especially of a certain genre, the more you read of that, the more you become more critical. I think as it goes on.
Yeah.
Um and so I mean even I talked about in the recap for April, there was a what was it called? Oh, One Woman's War. And it's a fine historical fiction book. I've just read so like World War II book. I've just read so many at this point that it's like it just doesn't it wasn't like wowza to me because I've read too many, let's be honest. So I have taken a break and I have not read besides that one. It had been a while since I read a World War II book. So
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely think that you can tell within the first few pages what
yeah,
it's going to be. And if you're going to
yeah.
be okay. So the next one that I have is The Last Green Valley, which is Mark Sullivan. And I don't know, but he has hit his stride with historical fiction. And I just found his next book that came out and ordered it immediately. But this one is The Last Green Valley, which my daughter is actually reading right now and loving.
Oh,
There's a 2-star review. There were not many low star reviews for his books, so that if that says anything. But this one says, "This was a slog. I'm sure Sullivan felt obligated to be faithful to the real Martell family story, but this was less a novel than a point by point rehash of a true story that nonetheless seemed cliched in its telling. The religious themes are preachy rather than revelatory. And I wanted to strangle half of the characters for not behaving believably. Similar stories have been frequently told and much better. And I just thought that was so terrible. That's a terrible review and so sad. Oh, I thought the story was so great.
yes. I feel like that was a really good one.
He did a great
Um,
job.
yeah. That's it's always like sad and almost like it feels personal. Like I was having a hard
Yes.
time going through like my favorite books and reading snarky comments about them because I was like, this is a personal attack on me.
Yes, because these are my friends. I know
Yes.
these people. And like you're
Yes.
attacking my friends and I don't like that.
Yes.
So go
Okay.
away.
So,
Okay.
the last one I have is The Things We Cannot Say. And I am sure I have mentioned this a gajillion times on here. It's by Kelly Reamer. It's one of my absolute favorite books. I don't care. Like, we can argue that point because I will argue it with you. It's one of my absolute favorite books. Okay, so somebody left and they put it in all caps. Let me just start with that. One
Seriously.
star. And it says, ugh, this was so annoying. Why did every single character have to be so stupid and flat and poorly written? I can't believe I thought this was going to be an okay read. Why do I keep tricking myself like this?
That's
Ah, I
awful.
know. Somebody else said I did not like this book. The characters were almost completely one-dimensional, lacking in depth and nuance. The dialogue was corny and cringeworthy. Um, and contrived. The twist was apparently halfway through, making the big reveal anticlimactic and pedestrian. Alice was an annoying protagonist with an extremely weak arc. uh, oh, and then she
That's
says,
awful.
Reamer is a writer of average talent who has somehow managed to appeal to your average reader, and that is how you become a best-selling author, I suppose.
Guess we're average, Rachel.
I guess
Because we
so.
love her.
I need to go like sometimes and like I don't have time and I'm not going to spend time doing this, but I would like to click on that person's other books that they read and judge them. And I'm not going to, but and we do say on here and we should say it again, like people like different books and that's okay. That's why there's so many books and so many genres and like so to like rag on somebody for liking books that you don't like is kind of even though we have
Yeah.
had episodes where we have talked about genres that we don't like, but you can discuss it in that sense, but you can't make somebody feel bad for, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
not being classy enough or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
or smart enough or something.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I disagree with that review, so.
Yeah, I'll go down swinging with that one because and again, I've never reread it and part of me doesn't want to because it was just perfect when I read it the first time and I'd like to leave that experience alone. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's how I feel
It's just
about
hard.
Warsaw Orphan, which I liked all the things we cannot say, but or think what is it called again? I always get the title wrong. Things we cannot say. Yeah.
It's
I love
confusing.
that one, but
Yeah.
I really love Warsaw Orphan, and so it's kind of like that for me. I have toyed with the idea of rereading it, but I kind of don't want to
Yeah.
because it is such a special. It was a special
Memory.
experience.
Yeah.
The type
I guess that is the thing you could say is like a good book will stand the test of time and rereads
Yeah.
for you. And maybe one day, but honestly, so if anybody hasn't noticed, I hung my picture that Katie gave me for my birthday
It's
and
so pretty.
I moved my bookshelf and my daughter was helping me. And I was like, oh my word, I have so many books on my bookshelf that I have not read. Um, and that's quite embarrassing. And I really need to change that. So I'm gonna try to work on that. I'm gonna be better. But it's just interesting. And then she was laughing because so many of those like historical fiction books are like orphan this, orphan this. And she was like, why are there so many orphans? I'm like, it's like Disney. There always has to be like the parent died, and that's like how the
Oh
story
yeah.
starts. And you're like, oh, okay. Um, but yeah, so it's funny. Hopefully these were entertaining and it is funny to go and read. So my daughter, I have to say this, is very sassy when it comes to her book reviews. And when she normally just gives everything 5 stars and moves on, whether she like really, really liked it or not. But when she leaves a 1 star, there is always a very, very sassy review about why she did not like that book.
They're
And
definitely
that's
my
very
favorite.
entertaining. Yes.
Yes.
So, and you will enjoy next year because she has to read so many like British literature classic books for school. So I'm sure that she will be leaving very comical reviews. So maybe we will have to redo this one. Um
Yes.
and just
And
read
have
her
her on.
reviews.
Yeah, we could just yeah, do hers or have
Just
her on and she could just give us all her thoughts.
yes, she's very opinionated. I don't know where she gets that from when it comes to books, but anyways. So, thanks for hanging out with us again. And just a reminder that at the end of this month, at the end of May, we're going to take a break for June and then we'll come back for July and have a lot of getting ready for school and homeschooling and lots of fun episodes coming up. But we have to record all of those episodes in June. So, we're going to take a break from actually uploading on here in June. So you can catch up on all of the podcasts you missed in June.
Yes.
Because there's so many. Like, I think we're going to have almost 40 by the time we get done, like with May. There's a
Exciting.
lot. There's a lot of episodes. So you could go back and peruse at your leisure. And leave comments and suggestions and all the fun things. So,
Yay.
yes. And we're still working on getting to 100 on our Instagram page. We haven't done, we are not doing well at promoting that. But if you want to help us out with that. And then we're going to do the fun giveaway of Summer of the Monkeys. So,
Yay. That'll be fun.
thanks for hanging out. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.